Steve is one of the most unique and notorious figures in all of Minecraft, but where did he come from and what's the backstory of how Steve came to be what we know him as today? Well, just like where every baby comes from, Steve was brought into life as a little infant after his parents ate some wheat a long time ago. But the Minecraft world he was brought into was unlike the deserted and empty world we see ourselves in today. It had all different types of people like merchants and explorers who built giant civilizations, as well as all of the structures scattered across the world we see today. A society like this would seem like a great place for Steve to grow up in, except for the fact that class 5 war crimes were committed every day. The world Steve lived in was not on peaceful mode, and different nations fought each other constantly for more land and power. One day, one of the nation's leaders decided to do the unthinkable and created a super weapon known as the End Portal. They created this portal with the plan to bring the Ender Dragon into the overworld and use it as a weapon, but the dragon ended up being way more powerful than they anticipated and was far beyond control, as it started going from nation to nation, destroying anything and anyone that stood in its path. And this, my friend, is where baby Steve's story gets a lot more interesting.
Hurry up and buy the apples, honey. Steve must be getting hungry.
Okay. I'll just take 4 apples.
That'll be 10 emeralds, sir.
What the hell? What? Boy, you trying to scam me or something? Wait, you guys hear that? Oh, crap!
Peeking out from his bedroom window, Steve could see the giant dragon wreaking havoc on his village, quickly wiping out the place he called home. Staying quiet, he went to hide out of sight and wait for his parents to come back.
Honey, we have to get back to Steve and save him.
No, it's too dangerous. We gotta leave him now. Plus, I didn't want a kid anyway.
Well, looks like they're not coming back. On low saturation and health, baby Steve tried looking for an escape from all the explosions and flames that were consuming his house. But right when he opened up the front door to escape, the dragon picked up on the noise and flew straight towards the last standing home, crumbling the entire house with Steve under it. The entire village, once full of life, was now completely destroyed. On half a heart, 0 saturation, Steve was stuck beneath the rubble for 4 whole days, still alive, but with no hope or help in sight. Until finally, a group of foreign villagers went to scavenge the destroyed town.
Oh yeah, this is bad. Can't believe how much destruction the dragon caused. Wiped out all of humanity besides us.
Yeah, brother, thank God it went back to its home dimension though. Wait, hey, hold on, Hank. I think there's a rat moving underneath that cobblestone over there. Or should I say dinner?
Wait, a rat? Let's ask him if he wants any trades. Oh wait, that's not a rat, that's a child. Let's get him out.
As baby Steve rose from the debris, he looked around to see his old town, or at least what was left of it. Everyone was gone. All of the buildings had collapsed. In fact, Steve was the last of his kind. For some, this would be the start of their villain arc, but for Steve, he was going to become a hero and get revenge on the dragon that took away everything. Steve packed up whatever he had left with him and tagged along with the villagers back to their home, which they said was still intact. After walking for quite a while, they finally got to the village. It was all the way out in the wilderness, which Steve had never been to nor knew existed. But overall, it was cozy, and Steve found himself a nice spot in the village, learning every different trade from each villager like farming and fishing. Years passed and he kept practicing all the way up until his teen years, where at this point he was pretty tall and better at every trade than the villagers who originally taught him. He was ambitious for sure and had even trained himself in combat, which was odd to the villagers because they had never needed to use swords or bows because they lived in such a secluded area protected by iron golems. Everything was going smooth though, until one day out of the blue, Steve and the villagers heard an unknown horn sounding off in the distance. Unsure of where it had came from, Steve walked up the hill thinking it was some sort of prank, some kids, but oh my god, that is a lot of pillagers! Steve ran back to the village yelling at everyone to get inside. These villagers had become his only family and he needed to protect them at all costs. The pillagers quickly entered inside the village, guns blazing against the iron golems, who were putting up a fight, but from the outside it seemed that the golems were outnumbered. As the pillagers started to attack the villagers in their home, home, Steve built up the courage to jump into battle and let loose, taking down every Vindicator and Ravager that came at him. The pillagers couldn't believe their eyes. They were expecting an easy fight, but this teenager in blue was the biggest PvP sweat they had ever met. Looking back towards the center of the village, Steve saw one of the villagers getting attacked by an evoker. But this wasn't any ordinary villager, it was Hank, the villager who had rescued him from death years ago and was the closest thing to family Steve had. So he quickly ran to save him, taking down every pillager in his path and finally the last evoker. But as he looked down to see Hank, he realized he was already too late.
Oh god, Steve, I'm not gonna make it, but just know, I always believed in you ever since the day I found you, and I believe that you will do great things. Make me proud, Steve.
Hank was dead. To add insult to injury, the whole village was in shambles, and everyone else was a goner. Oh, wait, there's still one left! No, never mind. For the second time in his life, Steve was on his own with nobody, alone in the massive and dangerous world he was brought into, which meant there was only one thing left to do: use everything he had learned from the village to finally get revenge on the dragon that caused all of this. First, he needed to gear up for battle, so Steve started off by heading to the mines to gather as much iron and diamonds as he could, which he would then make into weapons and armor. After getting plenty of resources, he built a solid looking house similar to the ones in the village, with a cow farm in the back, threw a bed down next to a crafting table, and it was now home. The next step for Steve to reach the Ender Dragon was to retrace his ancestors' footsteps and fight his way through the Nether. First, he needed to find one of the Nether portals the dragon had destroyed and use the leftover activation gear to enter the Nether. The next step was to find a fortress and get rods from the blazes the builders were farming. Lastly, try to get ender pearls from piglin trades, but good luck with that. Wait, what the? Steve, did you clear your mods folder before this?
Bruh.
And now, after years of grinding, Steve was now a fully grown adult and had all the resources he needed, so he went back home for what could be the last time he'll ever sleep there. While on his walk back from the portal, Steve was in a dark oak forest when he heard something loud coming from inside the woods. A creeper explosion, but it wasn't him who triggered it. Being very sneaky and careful, Steve went to go check out the noise, and once he got close, he saw what looked like a mob he had never seen before. But when it turned around to him, it was actually a woman! Hi, my name is Alex. Steve couldn't believe his eyes. It had been so long since he had seen somebody of his own kind, and it was even a female. Alex told him she was all on her own, so Steve brought her back to his house and got her back up to full hearts and saturation like a real gentleman do. After that, they got to know each other for a bit, and Steve brought up his plan to get revenge on the dragon and how he was leaving to fight it tomorrow morning. Alex had a similar tragic story to his, so she was able to convince him to let her tag along and join the battle. That night, Steve put his bed down right next to Alex's, and guys, I think we all know what happens next. No, they both got a healthy 8 hours of sleep. The next morning, they went out and tossed the Eyes of Ender, following wherever they landed. And after traveling across multiple different landscapes, they finally dug down and reached the stronghold. As soon as Steve entered, he felt something weird about the structure. It was the last place his people had been before total destruction, and knew it must have looked so much different decades ago when it was made. As the two searched the stronghold, they came across various things like a couple chests with decent loot inside, and libraries which held books and diaries written by the builders who constructed the stronghold. Steve and Alex didn't know how to read though, so they moved on and continued through the building, and after a couple encounters with some hostile mobs, they finally reached the portal room. Steve and Alex stepped up to the portal frames and filled them with the Eyes of Ender to open up the gateway to the end. This was it. They were either going to go home with the head of the dragon, or they were going to die trying. They geared up, looked at each other one last time, and jumped into the unknown. As soon as they entered the end, the dragon immediately noticed them, surprised yet confident she could take them out like she did to the rest of their people. Alex and Steve quickly got to destroying the end crystals while dealing huge damage to the dragon with their swords and long-range weapons. This was easily the most intense battle they had ever fought, and they could see how this beast drove their entire civilization to extinction. They kept fighting though, and after a few close calls, they went for the high ground on top of an obsidian pillar to rest and heal up. But after focusing on the dragon for so long, they had completely forgot about the Endermen. Steve, I think I just looked at an Enderman. I'm not sure though. Oh Oh no! At that moment, Steve's entire world froze around him. There was so much going on at once, but he had to act right now or Alex would die. Without further thinking, he jumped off of the pillar and fell with Alex, then placed a block off of the side to save her. Still falling at several meters per second, Steve whipped out his crossbow, stared the dragon in its eyes one last time, and took the final shots. It was a direct hit, and Steve smiled at what he had done while he slowly started to take damage from the void, and then it went dark.
I see the player you mean.
Steve?
Yes. Take care. It's reached a higher level now.
Steve was surprised to find himself still somewhere. He didn't feel alive or dead, but he was there, in front of two gods, the one you see speaking to each other when you beat the game.
Steve, you have died a hero and you did well, which is why we are welcoming you to a bliss paradise where you can choose your own journey, respawn, build whatever you want, and most importantly, get revenge on the dragon however many times you'd like.
Steve walked forward into the glowing exit portal and appeared back home at his bed with Alex like nothing had ever happened. He stepped outside to take in the nature and life around him. I wonder what he'll do next. Whoa, wait, what the heck, Steve? Steve, what are you doing? What's up, fellas? It's me talking over myself to say thank you for 1 million subscribers. And before you click off, go like this picture on my Twitter. I don't know what it is. Just go like it right now.